Carrie Bradshaw's fate has finally been revealed, and the Season 3 finale of And Just Like That has left fans with emotions ranging from shock to quiet reflection. This isn't just another ending, it's a moment that forces us to ask, has Carrie finally closed the chapter on her endless search for love and belonging, or is this only the beginning of her most daring reinvention yet? The Season 3 finale of And Just Like That has given us one of the most layered and emotional conclusions since the reboot began. Carrie Bradshaw, the woman who, for decades, has symbolized New York's messy, glamorous, and unpredictable dance, with love, is once again at the center of a life-defining moment. What makes this finale different, however, is that it doesn't lean only on big romantic gestures or shocking twists. Instead, it quietly builds toward a fate that feels both surprising and inevitable. And just like that, Carrie's journey once, full of heels on Manhattan sidewalks, late-night writing sessions, and endless brunch conversations, reaches a new turning point. From the start of this season, Carrie has been pulled in multiple directions. Her career as a writer has evolved from a personal column in Sex and the City to something far more reflective in And Just Like That. This season in particular pushed her to confront the rawness of grief, the weight of memory, and the desire to keep moving forward even when the past lingers like a shadow. The finale makes it clear that Carrie is no longer the same woman who used to wonder if she could have it all. Now she is a woman who must decide what all even means to her. At the heart of the finale lies a question that fans have been asking since the series first returned. What will Carrie do when she is forced to choose between the comfort of her past and the uncertainty of her future? In Season 3, this tension built steadily scene by scene. Old relationships resurfaced, new connections tested her boundaries, and the city itself once again became both a playground and a battlefield. And while the finale carries a quiet tone, it leaves us with no doubt that this is one of the most important shifts in Carrie's story. The brilliance of the finale is how it uses Carrie's inner conflict to mirror what many of the audience themselves have grown to feel. Longtime fans have aged alongside her, and the questions of love, loss, and identity hit closer to home now. The writers know this, and they crafted an ending that allows us to reflect on our own paths while watching Carrie navigate hers. The tone isn't flashy, it's mature, reflective, and at times painfully honest, but even in its subtlety, the finale makes sure to remind us of Carrie's enduring spark. The stylish outfits, the sharp one-liners, and the moments of self-doubt followed by bursts of courage are all still there. They anchor us in familiarity while preparing us for change. It's this balanced nostalgia blended with transformation that makes the finale so compelling. The Carrie Bradshaw we meet at the end of Season 3 is not the same Carrie we met in Season 1 of the reboot, or even in the days of Sex and the City. She is wiser, more fragile in some ways, but also more fearless. In others, the first section of the finale's story arc sets the tone for everything that follows. It's here we see Carrie wrestling, not only with her relationships, but with herself. Every glance, every hesitation, every word she writes or speaks feels heavier than before. And in these moments, the audience realizes something profound. This finale isn't about Carrie choosing a man, a job, or even a city. It's about her choosing herself, perhaps for the very first time. This setup pulls the audience in with quiet intensity. It's not the loud, dramatic shock that fans might have expected, but instead a deeply emotional unraveling of questions that have haunted Carrie for years. The city may still glitter, her friends may still anchor her story, but Carrie's fate is now placed squarely in her own hands. And that is where the finale begins to shape her destiny. The finale of And Just Like That Season 3 doesn't waste time on small talk, it dives straight into the emotional center of Carrie Bradshaw's life. The episode sets up its most powerful moments not with fireworks, but with carefully layered choices that echo across Carrie's past, present, and uncertain future. And while there are many touching scenes throughout the episode, 3 key turning points define the finale: Carrie's confrontation with her lingering grief, her complicated dance with love, and the shocking moment when she must decide what truly matters. The first major beat comes when Carrie returns to a familiar place that has haunted her since the beginning of the series reboot. Whether it's her old apartment, a spot tied to Big's memory, or a place that once represented freedom, the writers intentionally bring her back to a space loaded with meaning. In that quiet moment, Carrie doesn't just look at the walls, she looks at herself. We see her reflecting on how much she has changed, how much she has lost, and what she still yearns for. This isn't just a setting, it's a symbol. It reminds us that Carrie has always been in conversation with her past, and now she must decide whether to carry it with her, or finally set it down. The second defining moment unfolds through her relationships. Throughout Season 3, Carrie has found herself pulled between old love stories and the possibility of new ones. The finale places this tension at the forefront, forcing her to make a choice that feels final. On one hand, there is safety and nostalgia, chance to keep living in the shadow of what once was. On the other, there is risk, vulnerability, and the possibility of love that doesn't look like anything she's ever known before. Watching her navigate this crossroads feels like watching someone balance on a tightrope. One false move could lead to heartbreak, but staying still would mean never moving forward. What makes this part of the finale powerful is how it mirrors Carrie's lifelong pattern of searching for meaning in romance. From her on-again, off-again love with Big, to her whirlwind flings, to her quieter connections, Carrie has always believed love is the story worth telling. But in Season 3, the narrative flips. For the first time, the story doesn't simply revolve around who Carrie ends up with, it revolves around who Carrie chooses to be when love alone isn't enough. That subtle shift changes everything. The third and most shocking moment comes when Carrie makes a decision that no one saw coming. Whether it's giving up something we thought she would never let go of, choosing independence over security, or taking a leap into unfamiliar territory, her choice rewrites her story. The scene doesn't scream for attention, it whispers, but the echo is unforgettable. It tells us that Carrie is no longer driven by fear of being alone or by society's definition of success. She is driven by her own sense of truth, however. Complicated that truth may be parallel to Carrie's storyline. The finale also gives space to her friends, Miranda and Charlotte. Their stories may not overshadow Carrie's, but they work as mirrors that reflect her choices. Miranda's ongoing struggles with identity and purpose, and Charlotte's search for balance between family and self, remind us that the finale isn't just about one woman, it's about three women redefining themselves in a world that constantly changes. Each of them reaches some form of resolution, but Carrie's fate carries the heaviest weight. What's truly unique about this finale is the way it connects all these events with subtle callbacks to the original Sex and the City. A line of dialogue, a piece of fashion, even the framing of certain shots, everything is designed to remind longtime fans that Carrie's story has always been about reinvention. This isn't just nostalgia for its own sake. It's a way of showing that Carrie has walked this path before, but she's never arrived at this particular destination. By the time the credits roll, we realize these key events weren't just plot points. They were steps in a carefully constructed journey that leads Carrie to face her deepest fears and embrace her most honest desires. The finale doesn't tie everything up neatly. Instead, it leaves us with the image of a woman who has made peace with her past and is ready to write a new chapter, even if she doesn't yet know how the story will unfold. And just like that, Carrie Bradshaw's fate takes shape not in fireworks or fairy tales, but in the quiet strength of choosing herself. The finale of And Just Like That isn't just a story about Carrie Bradshaw making choices, it's a carefully woven tapestry of symbols, echoes, and contrasts that speak louder than dialogue ever could. This is where the show's brilliance lies, not in the events themselves, but in what those events mean. The writers know Carrie's story has always been more than just romantic entanglements. It's a meditation on identity, aging, and the relentless search for meaning. And in the Season 3 finale, every moment carries symbolic weight, shaping how we interpret Carrie's fate. One of the most striking symbols is space itself. Carrie's relationship with her living spaces has always mirrored her inner world. In Sex and the City, her apartment represented independence, creativity, and a stubborn refusal to conform. In And Just Like That, the presence of Big in her home became a ghost she couldn't escape. The finale revisits this theme with a powerful twist. The place Carrie chooses to inhabit now is less about square footage and more about soul. Whether she keeps or leaves a home, whether she clings to a piece of the past or steps into the unknown, the space reflects her acceptance of where she is emotionally. Walls, windows, and doors become symbols. Are they closing her in or opening her up? The finale answers that question with quiet confidence. Then comes fashion, Carrie's eternal language. Every outfit in the finale is deliberate, telling us who Carrie is without her ever saying a word. The bright, whimsical pieces recall her younger years when life felt like a glittering carousel of possibilities. The more subdued choices reflect her newfound maturity, her readiness to stop dressing for others and start dressing for herself. When she makes her final appearance of the season, her look is both classic Carrie and unmistakably new, signaling that while she honors her past self, she no longer lives there. In a show where clothes have always been character, this moment feels like a coronation, Carrie crowning herself queen of her own story. Love, of course, carries its own symbolism. Throughout the season, Carrie has stood at the intersection of memory and desire. Big's absence still casts a long shadow, yet the finale forces her to ask, can love exist again without erasing what came before? Here, love isn't just about passion, it's about courage. The courage to try, the courage to be alone, the courage to admit that one chapter doesn't invalidate another. The finale paints love as something fluid, not fixed. For Carrie, the choice isn't just about who she loves. It's about how she loves, and whether she can love herself enough to risk being vulnerable again. The supporting characters amplify this symbolism. Miranda's storyline reflects reinvention through discomfort. Her mistakes, her regrets, and her attempts to redefine herself echo Carrie's own battle with change. Where Miranda questions whether it's too late to start over, Carrie embodies the answer. It's never too late, but it will cost you courage. Charlotte's arc, meanwhile, symbolizes balance and sacrifice. Her struggles to juggle family, personal identity, and passion for art serve as a reminder that fulfillment doesn't come from perfection, but from accepting imperfection. These mirrors allow Carrie's fate to feel less isolated. She is one woman in a trio of lives reshaping themselves in the face of time. Even the city itself functions as a character. New York has always been Carrie's greatest love story, but in the finale, the city feels quieter, almost reflective. Instead of overwhelming noise and chaos, we get stillness, park benches, nighttime streets, candlelit interiors. This softened version of New York suggests Carrie no longer needs the city to validate her. She walks its streets as someone who has claimed her place in it, not as someone searching for it. The symbolism is clear. New York is no longer a proving ground. It's simply home. Perhaps the most poignant symbol in the finale is writing. Carrie began her journey by writing about relationships, but now her words have transformed into reflections of survival, resilience, and growth. When she picks up her pen or opens her laptop, it isn't just about career anymore, it's about self-definition. The act of writing becomes a metaphor for her fate. She is literally authoring her next chapter. This time, though, she writes, not as a woman seeking validation from the world, but as someone finally in conversation with herself. By layering these symbols, space, fashion, love, friendship, city, and writing, the finale tells us more than dialogue ever could. Carrie Bradshaw's fate is not one simple ending, but a mosaic of choices that reflect the core of her character. She is no longer only the woman who asks questions about relationships over brunch. She is now the woman who dares to answer those questions for herself, and just like that, the symbolism of Carrie's journey transforms a quiet finale into a profound statement. Life is not about clinging to the past or racing toward the future. It's about recognizing the meaning in every step, every symbol, every chapter you choose to write. Asterisk, and here it is, the moment fans waited for, the revelation that reshapes everything. Carrie Bradshaw's fate in the Season 3 finale of And Just like that, the episode doesn't end with a loud declaration, a wedding, or a grand romantic gesture. Instead, it ends with something far more powerful, Carrie finally choosing herself. After decades of chasing answers in other people, she decides that her happiness, her peace, and her identity will no longer depend on anyone else's definition of love, success, or belonging. The decision that defines Carrie's fate is deceptively simple. On the surface, it may look like a move from one relationship to another, a changing career, or even a new home. But beneath it lies something far more profound. For the first time, Carrie closes a door not because she is forced to, but because she wants to. This act of choosing, of actively deciding instead of passively accepting, signals that her story has entered a new phase. She is no longer a woman reacting to life. She is a woman directing it. This fate is not without risk. The finale makes it clear that Carrie's choice comes with uncertainty. She doesn't know what tomorrow will look like, and that's the point. Unlike the Carrie of the past, who needed answers, this Carrie has learned to live inside the unknown. Her acceptance of ambiguity becomes her strength. By leaving behind what no longer serves her, she steps into a future that is unwritten, unpolished, and fully her own. And in doing so, she reminds us of one of the show's most enduring lessons. The bravest thing you can do is choose yourself, even when it's terrifying. But what does this mean for the series moving forward? If there is a season 4 and all signs suggest there will be, it's likely that Carrie's journey will no longer center around traditional romance. Instead, the writers may take her into new territory, exploring late-life reinvention, creative rebirth, and the idea of identity beyond relationships. We may see her embrace work with fresh energy, creating stories that reflect her evolution. We may see her test new friendships and communities, finding belonging in unexpected places. Most importantly, we may see Carrie living with an ease she's never had before, an ease born not from having all the answers, but from no longer needing them. Of course, the finale leaves enough mystery to keep fans speculating. The relationships she leaves behind may not be gone forever. Characters who shaped her life could return in surprising ways. And the city itself, always unpredictable, may once again pull her into new dramas she never saw coming. Yet what feels certain is this: Carrie will meet these challenges as someone different. The woman who once asked, "Can you really have it all?" now understands that all is whatever she decides it is. The emotional resonance of this fate lies in its universality. Viewers who have grown with Carrie from her single-girl musings in the late 90s to her mature reflections in today's world see themselves in her transformation. Her decision to prioritize her own voice, her own peace, mirrors what many of us long to do but struggle to embrace. The finale doesn't just reveal Carrie's fate. It gives us a map of courage. It shows us that reinvention is possible at any stage and that endings can be beginnings in disguise. And so the curtain falls on Season 3. Carrie Bradshaw, once defined by the men she loved and the city she adored, is now defined by her ability to love herself and walk into the unknown without fear. It's not the neat, perfect resolution some fans may have expected, but that's exactly what makes it perfect. Life, after all, rarely gives us clean endings. It gives us choices, and Carrie's choice is the bravest of all. As the screen fades, we are left with one final echo of her iconic voiceover, reflective, sharp, and achingly honest. It doesn't spell everything out. It doesn't promise happily ever after. Instead, it invites us to wonder, to imagine, and to wait for the next chapter. Because just like Carrie's fate, the story of "And Just Like That" is still being written, and just like that, Carrie Bradshaw's journey takes its boldest step. Yet not into someone else's arms, not into someone else's story, but into her own.